this Dynamite that we're about to get into, which where was it emanating from, Hairline? I think I have it here.
Chicago.
From right, they're in Chicago. You don't have fucking Punk. Wait a minute. They were in Chicago at this Dynamite leading into this All Out, and they had like
Yeah, they're all week.
What were the tickets sales though? So that people heard Punk wasn't
Not
there
enough.
and they're just like, fuck this. Cause I think I read online it was literally like 1,500 people. And there you could see when Mox came out and the fucking camera panned, they were doing dumb camera shots of him because you could see the whole other half of the arena and it was just blanket empty. And we'll compare that to SmackDown, which we're also going to review. And SmackDown, when the show started, you can tell what WWE's doing too. SmackDown, the show started, the cameras backed up, and they're showing the whole full building, and then they zoom into the part opposite of the stage that AEW had tarped off at Wembley. And I personally am going, I think SmackDown purposefully did that just to flex. Do you think, Hairline?
I don't think on purpose, but like they should be because fucking Tony's taking all these little girly little shots and having Paige be a fucking goddamn Hulk Hogan mark.
There's reports that there will be it's like a 10 to 11,000 people that'll be at Payback. What do you think of that?
Yeah, I think Payback will be a packed house, man. WWE just never really like they've had low attendance issues like in the past, but like they've been firing on all cylinders, so it's not even like comparable. I would think,
Dude,
you know.
I know, right?
I guess flexing.
This shit
I love
so bad, and like AEW notoriously has bad follow-up Dynamites after their pay-per-views, but this was notoriously bad. And someone DM'd us, like one of the listeners or something. This one guy, he just loves AEW, and that's fine. But he's like,
shout out to him.
He's like, Wembley, the greatest pay-per-view ever. No, like one of the greatest of all time. Like after Wembley, and I was like, no, it really wasn't. Nope. And then after Dynamite, he's like, what seems off about this Dynamite? And I was like, well, bro, there's like 1,000 people in the building, and fucking they just suspended Punk, and they're in Chicago, and AEW notoriously has the worst Dynamites following pay-per-views. And he's like, even when MJF cut the Mark promo, I'm like, dude, yes. And that was one good moment. And that's the outlier, sure. But that was one moment. Like that, the whole rest of that Dynamite sucked dick besides that moment. So I don't know what they're doing. Why would you main event Orange? Like Tony Khan really thinks like he has something here with Cassidy. And we're going to talk about it, but you main event after your big all in with Cassidy, they slump the ratings. You let them do Marcus goof shit in front of 1,000 people. Like, what do they think they're honestly doing?
It's great.
You know, this really, to me.
Well, no, we had the Golden Elite, and there's all these other things going on too.
And I hate to be this guy, you guys, because I'm the guy who OG was batting for AEW the whole time. But I went into this going, what's the point? What's the point of this tonight? What's the point of reviewing this? What's the point of watching this? What's the point of any of this? We're going to break this down as we go along, but I just will note this and then we'll circle back to it. Yeah. The sizzle. Just the fact that Orange Cassidy, we had some mark in our comments going, you know, we're like laughing at the Orange Cassidy dip in the hand in glass. And they're like, well, I thought the whole point of that was to be like, well, he's fighting Mox next. First off, if that's how you guys build, if that storylines to you, that I'm sorry. Yeah, that's sixth grader. Like, you need to be reading Robert Munch books, eating a fucking cheese string, leaving me the fuck alone. Because that is insanely immature and dumb, first off. Second off, just this whole thing is basically the overlying story in AEW right now is Orange Cassidy's the champion, but he's got to do all this shit in order to earn a shot against Mox. Like, it just shows you how Mark Tony Khan is for WWE and shit. Like, and people go, oh, AEW's the elite. Okay, well, they're not the top merch sellers. They're not the top draws and ratings. They're not the most over tag team. They're not in the hottest storylines. So are they really AEW? Because if they went away, it's really not. It's really not this, like, they're just in like an echo chamber bubble reaffirming themselves. This ridiculousness. Just shows you that WWE guys made this company. Jericho is doing some of their best shit, and Jericho was their first champion. Moxley, the champion has to fight his way to Moxley. Like Moxley means more than this international belt. Like you guys have no idea what you're doing. You don't. There's literally a bunch of people who have no fucking clue what they're doing. Sorry, these guys have no idea what they're doing, and the only guy who does know what he's doing is getting suspended every 2 weeks and is knocking people out and has to have his own TV show where no one watches TV. So sorry, I ranted and raved and buried AEW.